Hey, how you doing? Mr. Greenhall? Mr. Greenhall? Mr. Greenhall? Hello?
You had nothing to see.
Well, that hasn't happened. That hasn't happened for 44 weeks.
Do you know, I was all going swimmingly.
It was. It's what I said to you earlier. I was like, I feel really over-prepared. We're like completely on top of everything this week.
I was going to say I'm the completely opposite. But what's up, everybody? Welcome to CrowCast, episode 44. Thank you so much for joining us. Sorry about the start of that. Basically, the bulb went in my lamp. So I was frantically trying to sort it out. But yeah, here we are, CrowCast episode 44. We got the wonderful Bruce Dickinson joining us very, very soon. Can't wait to get into all that chat with a man that's been there, done it. Incredibly influential for us. So can't wait to get into that. But have we been, bud?
Yeah, really well, man. It's pretty fast week this week. I felt this episode has come around really, really quick. But yeah, I took your recommendation. I finished The Queen's Gambit. Absolutely loved that series. So for anybody who haven't checked it out, it's on Netflix. Really enjoyed it, but really, really enjoyed it.
Yes. For a chess player, she's rock and roll, isn't she? Fair play.
Yeah, and there's a lot more to it. I mean, I think I might have said it to you, or whether I just kind of said it in my head, but I was like, do I really want to watch like 8, 9 episodes, 10 episodes of somebody playing chess? Because I like chess, but I thought it was a documentary. I didn't know it was a series. And then you get invested in the character and the history of the character. So I don't, like as I'm speaking now, there's no spoilers. But it was really, really cool. And there was a few little twists. And like you said, it was pretty rock and roll, like, so. Yeah. And I liked the casting of it as well, dude. I loved like from when she was young to when, you know what I mean? I love the casting of it. It was really on point for me, like.
Yeah, she's brilliant, bud. What a brilliant actress. She's in quite a few stuff now on Netflix, some series and that.
All right.
Yeah, check it out. No, she's brilliant. It's been extremely busy for us. We cannot wait to tell you what the Crows are up to.
Yes.
You're going to find out very soon, people. All the Crow family watching, going to find out very soon. We can't tell you yet, but it's good. It's really good.
It's like when we come on you and I was like, how was your week? But there's obviously, for us at the moment, not to spoil anything, and obviously management will kick our ass, but there's obviously a proportion of the week we can't talk about at the moment. So, and that's been going on for a while, haven't it? It's almost like CrowCast, and we've been busy for a little bit. Then you've got like a nice little weekend. But yes, it's been a bizarre one. Are we getting spammed again? Are we?
Oh,
I love it. I love it. You know you're doing well, but when you're getting spammed, that's brilliant. That's absolutely brilliant. And this week as well, obviously there was the last week we put up about Steelhouse Festival and the charity football match that we had in mind.
Yes.
There was a lot of laughs and giggles over Max and Mikey being caught out, and obviously on their CrossFit for anybody who missed it. I have still got the photo. I don't think I've deleted it quite yet. Yeah, it's Max and Mikey from Steelhouse Festival. They were that was them on their CrossFit session, but they did come back, mate. They had their own paparazzi, which was hilarious. So they caught me and you in a field. It was a few months ago when we were allowed to socially distance, obviously. They caught me and you in a field having a kick around. It's on the fan page for anybody who hasn't seen it. So they did retaliate, and I'm pretty sure there's going to be more shenanigans moving forward on that thing, like,
Yes, definitely from our end, but perhaps not tonight.
Or maybe not.
I love it. Hey guys, man. Just for everybody watching, obviously our web store, we announced last week our web store's up to date now as a new version of our web store. And just to let everybody know, there's calendars are come in. There's a limited few. So those that wanted calendars, ask for calendars. They are now live on our web store. If you want to go and grab yours now, you can. But yeah, check it out. Those damn Crows. New web store. January merch sale still on. Go get it. Go.
Should we have a guest?
Please, man. Yeah, I'm so excited about this.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, Crow family, please welcome the wonderful Bruce Dickinson.
Hey, how you doing?
How's it going, man?
Yeah, thanks for having me. I should probably say I'm Bruce John Dickinson for anyone who's disappointed that I'm not.
Nah, we got a real deal, man. We got a real deal tonight.
Well, thanks for having me on.
Pleasure, man. It's like I said to you off air, we're thrilled to have you on, dude. Such a guy who's like been there and done it, been in such success in bands, but not just you know the industry, dude, like the back of your hand. I mean, we were an upcoming band a few years ago, and the knowledge that you know, and we kind of I remember us doing Rambling Man. Do you remember that, Ron?
Yes.
And we were like, Bruce is going to be there. He's sorting out watching all the upcoming bands, and we felt like we had to perform that day.
Yeah, I remember it. It was really good, you know. But that whole thing, actually, you know, I'd been out of it for nearly 20 years before Little Angels got back together, which was 2012. So we did like a summer of a couple of festivals and then a little tour, you know. And so I wouldn't say I kind of knew quite what was going on. It's been 20 years since I played, and you know, but it was Danny Bowes actually. When I got Colour of Noise together, I learned a lot from Danny because I rang him up because Danny's a singer in Thunder, obviously. And I noticed that he's from the same era as Little Angels, and I noticed Thunder was still doing Wembley Arena, and I was like, well, he must know what he's doing, and he was brilliant with me because he kind of caught me up to speed, and then I met guys like you, and actually I learned more from the younger band than they ever did from me because I learned about the whole DIY ethic and the whole new ways of doing things, you know. So you're very kind, but it was good that stage, you know, and still will be.
Yeah. It's when it all kind of escalated from there, didn't it, Ron? That show we had, we opening the day in the big blue tent.
First on.
It did well for a lot of bands that stage. If they delivered on the day, it had the potential to kind of really launch people and kind of just it never is a kind of magic wand for anything, but it's a good platform to kick you off. There's been loads of people gone on from there, you know, which so it's very satisfying, that, isn't it?
Well, it is, mate. We had prior to that, we had like the first thing we did in a band, which you might love this, or maybe other bands have done it. We made a list of all the bands in the scene that we wanted to play with. That was an unrealistic list. Now anybody can write Muse and bloody Foo Fighters. We made a realistic list of all the hot bands or anybody with any experience. And then we just tried to get on support gigs or festival slots and etc. And leading to Rambling Man was a few key gigs, like Hard Rock Hell, playing with the Choir Boys. There was a few things leading up, all leading to that event. So I know what Shane meant. It was such a special day for us because number one, we were opening it up. And secondly, we knew like you were going to be there as well. And we'd met you before just briefly. You were really busy with Colour of Noise. But even then, I can't remember what you said, but we were talking about it in the van. It was, you just kind of said, just get out there, guys, just get out there. And you were almost like, just make a noise. Do you know what I mean? Just keep making a noise. Like,
I think what you guys have is you have pace and energy and you're involving us all in the story. That's what you're doing now. And bands often don't realise what the job is. It's not putting a record out. For that stage, you know, that year you played, there was about 360 something bands applied for it. And out of that, maybe 150 were reasonably competent and credible, you know. But most of them are not working at the pace. And it's like that trajectory thing, isn't it? It's like, you know, you guys are here and then a year later you're there. So you've got this kind of, you know, thing going on. And so when that stage, looking behind the scenes is really fascinating because I deliberately compile a shortlist with a guy called George Donahue, and George does all the real hard work. And he's a young lad and he's got good taste and that. We put this list of about 35 bands together, but we deliberately don't pick the winner because too much conflict of interest because I might know someone in the band or whatever, you know. So it's Chris Bingham from Rambling Man who picks it. And we do tend to order it almost the front half of the 35 is definitely a bit stronger, you know. And then you look at what happens when they pick the bands and it's always about where were they last year, where are they now? You know, and then is it any good? Do we like it? And I think that actually There's not so many bands in that category as you think. There's thousands of bands, but there's only a handful doing what you guys are doing.
Wow.
Yeah.
Thank you, man. But I remember you listening to you doing like online videos and stuff about doing things right as a young band. Set list is so important. You said the story, the highs and lows, the journey of a live show. All that, dude, was just like, you know, that's what bands need to hear when they're starting off. You know, honing that craft, getting that first.
It's a bit of a lost art, some of this stuff, and we learned it off people like Bon Jovi and Bryan Adams, of course. You know, you just they'd be telling you this stuff, and also back in the old days, before the internet, you did have a kind of structure around you. So you had A&R people of varying kind of levels of experience and musical ability. But the fact that you were kind of accountable, you had to sort these things out. And I think the thing is these days, bands are a lot harder because they can do what they like. And no one says, hang on a minute, it just needs to be a little bit better, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Some of those old school skills in the studio and live, they're not lost, but there's only a select few people who kind of cotton onto it. I would say Rival Sons would be a good example of a band that came through relatively recently, but they just had a bit of a higher standard. And it just went like that. Temperance Movement, again, they supported Little Angels in 2012, and it just kicked off because the record was great and they kind of understood this stuff, you know.
Yeah.
Got to figure it out for yourself now, though. That's the trouble.
Yeah, but I don't know. It's more rewarding, I find, because we've come from a background where, you know, you used to put flyers up rather than posts on MySpace or you know, so we've come from that background. But I find it more rewarding now. Me and Shane talk about this constantly. It's so much harder. You know, you used to think it was hard back in the day to travel from Wales to London to put posters up to promote your gig.
Yeah.
And now you think with the internet there, half will say it's easier, which they're correct, but there is harder because there's so much of it now. So you almost get buried. So you have to think outside the box to be noticed even more. Your live show has to be even better now. Do you know what I mean? It's people's like attention span isn't there as it was. Do you know what I mean? So
it gets more hard to get people to pay attention to what you do online. Every 3 months it gets harder, you know, harder and harder. But for what we do, it'll always come down to the live show, and that's why it's a bit frustrating at the moment because, you know, at the end of the day, we live or die on that and the records we make, you know. But you need one to give life to the other. Putting a great record like out right now would be probably not the right thing to do because no one would notice it, you know. So I think for rock and roll, it'll always come down to the live show, you know.
Yeah, 100%, but just for people watching, where are you to, Bruce?
What? Sorry, say that again.
Just for people watching, where are you right now?
I'm in WaterBear. I'm in the middle of Brighton. So I'm in the college. I'm on my own, partially because it's this time of night and partially because it's lockdown, you know. So WaterBear is a music college that we set up, me and a drummer called Adam Bushell. Now, I've worked with Adam in music education for 25 years. He drums in a band called Freak Power, which some of the more older members of the audience may remember. And yeah, we've been 3 years in now. So we've got now 4 buildings, 250 students, and they're studying degrees or masters. And it's been amazing. I wouldn't say it's been easy. It's like everything that we do. It's got its challenges. But it's what's been really satisfying is some of the people who are actually quite big bands who've come to, or quite established in their music careers, have come to do the masters.
Yeah.
And what I love about it is it's this based on this principle of work-based learning. So it's not like, you know, say if you were studying with us on the masters, if we wouldn't be teaching you stuff, first of all, we'd be picking apart what you're doing with the band, and what would make it an MA would be your research and your critical reflection. So you kind of add this extra layer of sort of academic stuff on the top, but essentially it's making sense of what you're doing. And our job is to kind of turbocharge it a little bit or join the dots and fill in any gaps, you know. So it's a bit like, we test it a little bit. It's a little bit like a cross between an A&R function and a kind of business development function. So it's quite entrepreneurial, but strangely, the culture at WaterBear, it's that kind of approach to business that someone like Jack White would have, where it's an extra creative part of what you do. not necessarily about classic notions of success and the bottom line and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And it's quite holistic in that regard.
So what made you do it? Did you just see a gap in the market and just thought there's nothing like this? And
well, I've always, my old man's a headmaster, so when Angels split, I started teaching guitar. And I always said I wouldn't do teaching, you know, because of my old man. My brother's the same. Jimmy was in the band. He's the keyboard player. He now runs music courses at Bath Spa Uni. So there's obviously something genetic in there. And then there was a college in Guildford setting up called the Academy of Contemporary Music, and this was mid-90s. And I just had this idea. I didn't like the way a lot of people came out of music colleges and they could play really fast, but they didn't have a sound, they couldn't play in time, they didn't know how to make records. And I just thought it'd be better to make it a little bit more rock and roll and look at music that people might consider to be simple, be it Bob Dylan or The Clash, and also look at Frank Zappa and all the jazz fusion stuff, but to respect simple music like the Ramones, like Rocket to Russia or Should I Stay or Should I Go by The Clash. You always hold that up as the most perfect rock and roll song, from title down to arrangement to everything. It's the bare bones fundamental of genius, you know, in that song. But people wouldn't study that in music colleges because they thought it was easy because it's 3 chords, and they're nuts because if it was easy, there'd be a lot more records like that. But it's harder to teach that stuff than stuff that's kind of concept, you know, kind of more complex in its harmony. That's easier to teach than that 3-chord magic, you know. So we did both, and the trouble with that college was it grew and grew and grew, and all my mates were still in bands, you know. So there's Mark Rich and Feeder and Skunk and Nancy and Colour Shaker were kicking off, and we were getting them all in the college, and the thing was growing, but it wasn't my business. So in 2001, with 3 other guys, I set up BIM in Brighton, which became Brighton Institute of Modern Music. It used to stand for. And that, where the academy in Guildford was growing quite quick, we'd grown that to about 600 students. BIM just exploded. And it was like the equivalent of being in a band like Guns N' Roses, where you lose control of it. It's growing faster and bigger than you could possibly have control over.
Yeah.
So I sold my shares in there in 2012 and floated around in education. Meanwhile, BIM grew and grew and grew and became the biggest education provider for music in the world in terms of student numbers.
Wow.
But it became a different thing. It started with a punk ethic, and then it became something much more part of the establishment. And my role in music education, every 10 years, I seem to need to shake it up, and where I felt. So by 2015, I was kind of retired and I'd qualified to be a charter skipper. So I was taking people out bass fishing in a little boat. And we'd done the band thing. And then people rang me up to do bits of consultation in education. And I was doing the rising stage and mixing with guys like you. And I started to feel like music education had drifted away from what people actually needed, which was to understand this DIY ethic. Because now the only people who want a record deal in the established sense of a record deal are people who don't understand what it is. Yeah. Still get young people saying, you know, so-and-so might sign me. And you're like, so what do you mean sign? Sign you to what? You know, what? And anyone who actually looks at a record deal and can break it down into the half a dozen terms that it is, there'd have to be a really good reason to sign it. So we wanted to teach the new ways of doing things like you guys do. And people like, you know, we work with Corey Wong, for example, from Wolfpack. They've taken a band from the living room to Madison Square Garden on a DIY ethic. So there's no limits to that now. Yeah. So that's it really. So we set up a college, but it's tough. You know, you've got to remortgage your house, put some cash in and go in the city and do the Dragon's Den thing. And come back with a couple of million quid to start a college, you know, and balance the needs of the university and the investors and the rock and roll and the craft and the art, you know. And here we are 3 years later, and we're doing all right, you know. Despite
incredible, dude. I mean, Ronnie, you've said this. We could have done with that type of college when we were growing up. My God, because we've talked about this on other CrowCasts. Our music teacher was incredible. Our inspirational, absolutely was incredible. But all the things you're talking about there, it was always about the classical side of things. It was a different way of learning music. You had to learn this first in order to do this into your next step.
Yeah.
What you're saying about there,
and if you follow that logic, you know, with guitar playing, you can learn certain scales in a certain order. You end up with Steve Vai and beyond, you know. But it's craft, that.
Yeah.
And what's hard to teach is art. So that I like to have a blend between craft and art in your appreciation of music, you know. And when you get a great mix of those two, like you did with Van Halen, for example, then, you know, that's magic, isn't it? You know.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, that was us when they were on. We were more art than craft.
Yeah, we were definitely. I'm not ashamed. Like at one stage, I was ashamed to say it in a way because we knew a lot of very. I'm going to call them musos. I know they hate it, but they were very gifted. Yeah, they know their guitar backwards.
Yeah.
But you ask them to get in a band sometimes and maybe write a song. They don't know. They overcomplicate it, or they don't know how to. Do you know what I mean? Like you said, bringing it back to that Clash scenario. I'm going to use that in future. That's perfect. That is.
You know, sadly for those guys, that high level of craft is quite common, and I say that as a guitar player, spent 8 hours a day practicing. You know, but you know, I've got students at the college that are 18 who could rip the guitar apart. You know, and they could do stuff that I couldn't even dream of doing. But you have to know what to do with it and how to apply it. And so I suppose it's like the producer's role in the studio, isn't it, to get the best out of the artist? Something like a tennis kind of relationship, you know. But you know, craft is common, and art actually is still rare.
Yeah, it's strange. Like we were kids, we had a teacher that believed in us. He saw the art, he saw the creativity, where we could listen to something and just play it and then improvise. He was all for that. But then you could tell he was structured by the own structure of the music that he had.
Curriculum. It was a curriculum. He
had to teach us.
Yeah,
and that's when he lost us.
And also, you kind of need flexibility these days, because I did a TED talk a couple of years ago now, and I said universities have got to kind of wake up a little bit, because going to a particular building and sitting down and going, now I'm going to learn, and it's 9 o'clock on a Monday, it's nuts. It's like driving to Hull to watch somebody else's Netflix.
Yeah.
And to be taught stuff without someone understanding where you're coming from and what you need, because you might already have a lot of that stuff down, you know. So I think you need the flexibility, and then you can go on the road as long as you get Wi-Fi in the production office or something. You can do your degree or whatever, or do stuff like this, you know. It's a different place now, but we're moving at the moment while COVID's going on. We've always had this idea of online and on-site, and the blend between the two is quite important. But we're working on this idea of on-demand higher education. So when you're doing your degree, you have your lecture absolutely at a time that suits you, whether it's 2 o'clock in the morning or 6 a.m. in a place that suits you, or you come in to do it. And if you want a tutorial, you don't book it for a week's time. Next September, I'd like all musicians to be able to come in and go to a social space like the student union bar that we have. They do the business to sort the band out, and then if they need a bit of help, they get their tutorial with someone who knows what they're on about there and then. Like the Genius Bar at Apple, or like the cheese counter at Sainsbury's. You get your little ticket and you wait 10 minutes or so. And then the person that hires you is someone who's been in a band, done it, got the education side as well, and they can help you with your career, your songwriting, or your assignment for your degree, you know. And I think the on-demand aspect of education is the future, you know.
That's brilliant. It's brilliant.
We'll see how we do with it.
No, it's perfect. I mean, this is why we were excited about having you on, because like to us, we really love this. This is something we focus on, or it resonates with us, because like Shane said, our teacher knew the curriculum didn't work. So he gave us a space, which would be the music room every dinner time. So rather than going out, we chose whether it be football or music, and we chose music then. So he created that. That's all he did, Bruce, was like the old school.
Because he created an environment. And I've got older in education. I stopped telling people stuff. You know, and life teaches people the hard lessons. When I was a young teacher, I felt like there had to be this kind of tough love kind of thing. Work hard and now I don't, because life beats the crap out of people when you get out there. And our job early on is to give them a safe space to try stuff out, experiment, encourage people, and also be open-minded, because what they're doing might have a whole load of cultural references and nuances that I've no idea about. Yeah. So I'll give you an example. When I first started teaching in the 90s, very concerned with a structure that would get on the radio. You know, that kind of get into the track quick, get the hooks there, get to the chorus. Well, it's irrelevant now for a lot of musical styles. You've got a huge resurgence of instrumental virtuoso players that play somewhere like Arctangent, you know. Now, I don't know if a 15-minute arrangement is genius or a total mistake in that context of that scene, but the people that are into it do.
Yeah.
So you've just got to create the right environment, and the secret of A&R and artist development is asking the right question at the right time. And if the timing's right, you'll hear it.
Yeah.
And you can't put an old head on young shoulders, but you don't have to.
Yeah.
You've got to create. So I think in some ways your music teacher just did everything he needed to, didn't he? He just gave you the space.
Gave us the space.
Yeah.
He gave us a little tape recorder one, because we were starting to write stuff without realizing we were writing it. Shane would do, whether it be chords on the piano or guitars, and then we started forming what is a band, but it wasn't a band because it wasn't in our mind to kind of we're going to get a band. This was like we were 14, so it was like we could just play. We didn't know what we were doing. We were just playing, and then he kind of egged us on. Then so we'd have a little tape player, and we put paper. We've mentioned this before. We put paper in front of the tape player so it wouldn't distort the sound. And it was just little things. We were learning that as we were going. Then one day he pulled this trolley in with like the most ancient computer, weren't it, Shane? And he was like, "Oh, you're into your writing. Here we go." And then all of a sudden he egged us on to kind of start doing the writing on there. And you were just doing like simple keyboard, or, you know, if you were more advanced, you'd be doing, and it's brilliant. It's just providing that space, that channel, but all the rest of it, it's almost like he kind of give us a pass on that. He was like, you don't have to learn that. You know what I mean?
I think that's also the ability to pick and choose what you want to learn is important for education as well. Because if it's prescriptive, music theory is a good example. Always banging my head against the wall trying to get, you know, the vocal class or the drum class to want to do theory. It's good for you. You should do it. Well, there's loads of people that don't know the theory. So do it if you want to do it. It's there. Come to the class, go and study it online. But if it's not your thing, come back to it later. You can learn it on YouTube anyway. So,
mate, we had this conversation the other day. I can't remember who it was with. But we were genuinely talking about how much we've learned during COVID. So I've had the time now. Life hasn't got in the way where I can research guitarists on YouTube or how their process is, because there's so many little geniuses out there, and they're on their Twitch channels and they're on this and they're writing songs. But the other thing is as well, it's like drum music. I've been actually learning how to read and write drum music, and we were talking about this when we, Shane, of how we've managed to, like, you know, stretch that knowledge just because we've got the time to do it, like, you know. So
amazing, because, you know, we've all got this, so we can find anything out that we want and we can learn anything. The trouble is there's so much of it. And then the universities, some of them are still going, well, we've got all the sensible, the great knowledge. Well, no, you haven't actually, because if you actually look at a lot of these lectures, they're 10 years out of date, especially with music. You know, anything that we taught 2 years ago is probably out of date now completely with the developments in, you know. So actually, some of the world's best educators are sitting on TikTok, you know, or wherever, you know.
Yeah.
But what people need help with is making sense of it, so it's coherent. So, you know, it links to you're here, you want to be there. What is the path? And that's what they need help with, not here's a music theory. You know, no one wants to pay $9,000 a year to get stuff they can find out free, you know.
Yeah.
So, higher education is about space, environment, and encouraging people to think critically. You know, my father-in-law, he gets the Daily Mirror, I think it is, and it kills me sometimes because he'll take the headline as if it's a fact, you know, and it's right now with the way politics is, you don't want generation of young people who take things at face value, whether it's on social media, or it's a newspaper headline or whatever, you need people to go, hang on a minute.
Yeah.
Is that thing that Trump said really true?
Yeah.
And and similarly here with politicians, it's very dangerous if we lose the critical thinking thing. So that's what it's all about, and it's empowering for art. It's always about artist empowerment, isn't it? If you've got that confidence, I couldn't, raise funds to start a business without having the MA behind me that I did back, because I wouldn't have had the confidence to do it, I think,
Yeah, but there's no way that college would even exist now if it wasn't from your background. Like the insight, the creative side of you. Because I can't help but think, dude, like you're a passionate guy. You could tell listening to you talk about it. Like, do you wish that? Did this come at the right time in your musical career? Did you think, yeah, now I'm going to go and do this? Was this always something you wanted to do? You saw the industry.
No, I didn't want to be like my old man, and I just wanted to be a guitar player, and I didn't have natural ability as a guitar player, and I forced myself through sheer will to be a reasonable player. But education, I just sort of seemed to know what to do, but also my job is to sort of make the academic case for rock and roll. So with Rocket to Russia by the Remains, so hang on a minute, now this is really important work here. It's not three chords. The Sex Pistols, and musicologists get it. The ones who talk about culture, they know why the Sex Pistols is important as a stylistic thing. But then why is it when they start teaching music, they dismiss it?
Yeah.
Yes.
And we all know that simple stuff is hard to do convincingly and authentically. Blues being a classic example, it's got to have a certain weight to it, So I love all that stuff. And the main driver for this is you want a generation of musicians who can do what you do and think for themselves and design their own futures in music, But it's a pain in the arse, It's like running a band, man. There's the equivalent of loading the amp in the van in 2 o'clock in the morning. There's a lot of that stuff for the when you get the magic moments when some young person plays you an amazing tune or something. There's a lot of grunt work, but that's life, isn't it?
Yeah.
So being a guitarist then. So let's talk about being a guitarist. What were your go-to people, dude? As far as guitarists were concerned, the people you looked up to, the people that made you pick up a guitar.
There's one particular album that was very important, which is the Black Rose album by Lizzie, because it's got Gary Moore on it, and it's a combination of Phil Lynot's lyric writing and his songwriting. Scott Gorham was absolutely on fire on that record, and then Gary and the whole thing coming together in this magic, and also the sound of the record. So you'll see behind me there's probably a Cornell version of a Plexi, and it's that sound. We always talk about this Plexi Marshall, which it's the plexiglass front on it, which is a nickname. So it's a 60s into the 70s sort of era Marshall head. It's got a particular sound. It sounds like it's burning, and it's on. Early Thin Lizzy is really that sound, and it's just in my DNA that I wanted to sound like that. I wanted to be in Thin Lizzy and Live and Dangerous as well. And then I saw a picture of Brian Robertson when I was 15, and I wanted a black Les Paul. And to this day, I still want to be in Thin Lizzy and play a black Les Paul like Brian Robertson.
Well, I've got to be honest, dude. Your guitar is lovely. I love your Les Paul.
Yeah.
Thank you. It's a one-off, that black one, because I bought recently. It's a 1979 Les Paul Custom, so it's got a maple neck. So it's got this weird attack. John Sykes, same thing. That classic black Cold Sweat kind of sound. It's sort of faster than the earlier Les Pauls. It's a bit more aggressive.
Yeah.
And but I bought another one same year, the white one. It's good. It's really good, but it's not the black. The black was a very weird guitar, and it's got a very pronounced kind of mid-range, like Brian May, kind of that middle kind of frequency.
Yeah.
I used to stick it into a box or an old Marshall. So there's nothing unusual about it, but it's very uncompromised. I can only ever play very, very loud.
Yeah.
Because you have to work those amps very hard. when Angels got back together, it's very hard to find a sound man that could cope with people playing at normal volume. To me, you know, they expect you to have like this kind of mouse fart volume on stage.
I love it.
Well, it's like, why? You know, and whose show is it anyway?
Yeah,
you know, it's these musicians have given control for the gig to the sound man.
Yeah.
And it's like your mix, man. It's my mix, and half of it's going to come off stage.
You sound exactly like our guitarist, Shiner. It's brilliant.
Yeah, but it's not. You know, it was always done like that, and there's nothing wrong with it. I mean, you know, you got to watch your hearing and all that, and the people in the audience need to put plugs in if it's a small show and everything. But it's not that loud. Do you know what I mean? It's like, you know. So
when did you get that Les Paul?
It'd be about 18, I suppose. But I found it in a junk shop, and it was in the right state. And Les Pauls are very unfashionable. So I had a Kramer. I think I've got one hanging up somewhere. Yeah, it's one over here. Look. So I had this. This is a 1985. Can you see the red one?
Yeah.
1985 Kramer. So it had two interesting things when I was. So I'd be just 18 when I got that. And it had the banana headstock. So that was an Eddie Van Halen designed one. It had a banana headstock and it had a Floyd Rose tremolo, which was like the new thing. So I thought I was the coolest kid in Yorkshire because I could do the whooping. And my mum got it for me the 18th birthday. But then I was probably 19 or 20 and I found this Les Paul, and they were very unfashionable because everyone was buying guitars like that. And I've got it for 200 quid.
What?
And then all the finish started flaking off, and my mate Charlie, the artist, scratched all the designs in it. And it was just almost a spare guitar then, so it didn't really matter. And then it's just stayed like that. And then I gave it to, there was a lad who was a student in the late 90s, a guitar student, it's called Chris Leonard. And he got the gig on a TV show, and he was like in the house band on a Saturday morning. And he didn't really have a pro level guitar, and it was a pro gig. So I said, well, I wasn't playing at the time, and I was just teaching. I said, well, you have that Les Paul, and you can have it cheap. And I said, how much have you got? And he had 300 quid. So I gave it to him for 300 quid. But back then, they were starting to become a bit more valuable. So it's probably worth 1,500 quid or something back then. And then his mum rang me up and bollocked me for giving him an old guitar. She thought I'd you know. So anyway, he went on to be really successful, and he was in Busted for a bit in the band behind the three lads at the front. He was actually the one okay. You know, so he was in that, and this guitar would go around the world. Then he was in a band called Son of Dork. So my guitar, and all Little Angels fans would be like, why is Bruce's guitar in this pop punk band? And then Chris ended up writing songs for Ed Sheeran's first album, and he's a writer now. Anyway, he rang me up and he said, this bloke's offered me $6,000 for your guitar, and I feel bad taking the money. Do you want to split it? Which is very nice of him. And I said, no, I'll tell you what, can I have it back? This is 20 years on. Can I have it back, and I'll give you the $3,000 just straight to you. So I got it back, sold it to him for 300 quid, got it back for $3,000, but it was a bargain, you know. Really, and then I got it out of the case, and it just, you know, it was a very weird experience because I'd grown up with it, sat there, and then it'd gone for 20 years, and here it had come back, you know, and you could smell it, you could smell those gigs and the kind of, it's an old grumpy old guitar. It's really hard to play. No one else likes it, you know.
That's a brilliant story, dude. That's amazing.
It's a funny guitar, that. You know, if I got rid of it, I probably wouldn't play guitar at all. I just wouldn't bother, really. Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing. Yeah, we saw you in. Forgive me now, but you were guest guitaring for a band in.
I think you want to think about Neville at Stone Deaf with Hand of Dimes.
No, it was in Rambling Man. When you guest guitaring for someone. I should have done my research. This is bad. I shouldn't have done this.
Maybe. I'm not. My memory's quite bad.
For me and Shiner, the guitarist, were just looking at you, and he came up on the big screen, and Shiner was like, "Oh, look at that! That's incredible! That guitar. I love that guitar."
It could have been.
You etch all that in? He was an artist, was it?
Yeah, he used to do all the old devil designs and that kind of thing. And we just sat one night, and he was just scratching it away, and you know. And and all the paint came off, and then it stayed like that for like, you know, it's what is it? It must be 40 odd years old now, that guitar, I suppose. You know?
Oh, that's incredible. I love it.
Well, good guitars are rare. You know, that's the other thing that younger generation, they miss out on, because their reference point is these new guitars that you get, and they look great, but they're all grown with forested wood, because you can't chop down rainforests anymore. You shouldn't. But there's a lot of difference between, I think that behind me, I've got a 1974 Les Paul, and, you know, that would have been naturally grown. I don't know if you can see it, can you? The little cherry one in the corner.
Oh, look at that.
That's a 74. So that would have been grown in a forest, chopped down, seasoned for several years, and you can't get wood like that now.
No.
So the guitars are different, you know.
Yeah. Wow. What a brilliant story.
I love that. I love that. How did you get into your first band then, Bruce? What got you?
It's like you. We were at sixth form. So our sixth form college was separate to the school. So I turned up, and I'd been playing fairly seriously for a bit. So I thought I was great, you know, and I wasn't, but I thought I was. And, I'd played in the school band. So I started on saxophone and got bullied for that, which I could cope with. But if you did music, you were gay. And that was a bad thing in Yorkshire in the 70s, according to popular opinion. And then you would be bullied. So to keep my head down, doing anything artistic, you know, to sort of stop that. And then I ended up playing guitar in the school band, which is quite hard, because it's jazzy stuff. So it's chung, 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 all that kind of thing. But it was an amazing start, but I always wanted to be in a proper band. And then I got to sixth form, and I saw Toby walking about. And I think he thought he was great as well. So we organised this jam. And then it became, you know, we got on with it, you know, and we failed our A-levels, of course, but we had a transit van, and we got going, and we started playing the marquee pretty quick, you know.
Wow.
That's amazing, isn't it?
So what was the first moment where you thought, wow, this is my career now? This is where I've gone from just jamming. Yeah.
I remember it very vividly, actually. It's a good question. We used to play this little show in Scarborough called the Theatre in the Round, and it sold out. And then the next time we had to put 2 nights on, maybe about 200 people each time. And then so we sold out 2 nights, and that was the night I thought, bloody hell, this is actually something could really go here. And then we booked another gig, which was 1,000 capacity theatre. And we had 800 or 900 people in it. Scarborough's only got a population of 50,000, and most of them are retired. So, you know, we'd got half the towns of this gig, you know, and it was on its way then. And I think having Jimmy in the band doing the keyboards, we were the lighter end of the rock scene. So we were able to get on Radio 1. We never played Download or Donington back in the day, but we would play Milton Keynes Bowl. So we would tour with Bryan Adams and Bon Jovi, but we wouldn't do anything, you know. So we were allowed. We were comfortable being commercial because we loved that. And our favourite records were stuff like Rumours by Fleetwood Mac, Reckless, Elton John, as well as AC/DC, Van Halen, and it's the mix of, and that all of us were quite comfortable with this kind of listening to Elton John, which was quite unusual for people our age at that time, you know.
That sounds very much like us. We got a really sort of a large sort of spectrum of music. If it's good music, man, it's good music. But like when you were doing those shows with Bryan Adams, Bon Jovi, so what type of arenas then is it?
Yeah, man. Yeah,
and stadiums, you know, and yeah, but all the time, you know. So like that, in '93, it was like it would be round Europe with Van Halen for 6 weeks or something, and whatever it was, and then Bon Jovi, and then there'd be show. And you sort of as you're doing more and more, if any big band came to the UK, it'd be either us or Thunder or the Choir Boys supported them, and then the Choir Boys got embroiled in this kind of second album, which took them out of the game for a bit. And bad advice I always felt from their A&R and publisher to sort of. They waited around for Bob Rock to make their record. It was he just done the Motley Crue records, but it was clearly the wrong choice for the Choir Boys, who were a rootsy rock and roll band. I felt,
yeah,
you know?
yeah.
But they just had this huge record. I think it'd been number 2 in Canada and stuff like that. Doing really, really well. Much, much better than us. But then they were just knocked out for 2 years, waiting around for Bob Rock. So it was either us or Thunder. So, you know, and then all these huge bands were coming, and we were supporting Aerosmith 1 minute and then ZZ Top the next. And then, you know, it's a good way to spend your 20s. I mean, touring with Van Halen, that was like, it made Motley Crue look like Richard and Judy, or Eddie did. The rest of the band didn't, but Eddie was, and it was the sort of stuff that it doesn't really happen anymore like that. And there was a naivety to it. So there was by the last stage of Little Angels, in certain quarters of the band, including me, there was a lot of partying, but there was a naivety to it, that it was just a good time. And I felt that basically drugs were great, and anyone who said anything otherwise was just being a party pooper.
Yeah.
And of course, when you're 24, 23, 24, they just bounce off you, don't you? And then it's sort of, you get to be a little bit into your later 20s and you notice people start to come a cropper along the way, you know. But in that period, it was just a right laugh, you know, and the excesses and the money. So you'd be when we did the Van Halen one, which is the most ridiculous of all of them, they had this walkway in a sort of C shape that Sammy Hagar used to run around on.
Yeah.
There was a bar that Michael Anthony had, and there was the same at the other side of the stage. And when Eddie was doing his solos, we would watch from Michael Anthony's bit, and he would pour you, and he'd say, "Do you want a drink?" And it would be half a pint of Jack Daniels and half a pint of Coke. And he'd be like, a couple of them, and that's that. But then it's every night, you know, and they've been doing it for years, you know. And it was really ridiculous. And there's a cage for girls to dance in just for Michael Anthony, you know. And it was all like that, you know. But you sort of get carried along with it, and then of course you're doing all this for a few years, having a right old laugh. And then it changes overnight with Kurt Cobain releasing Nevermind. So I remember Jimmy, keyboard player, we did the Bon Jovi tour. They're lovely. All these bands, with the exception of Aerosmith, they were really uptight and a bit unpleasant. Everyone else was absolutely lovely. And when we did the Bon Jovi thing, they invited us on their private jet because they knew we were just kids and we would blow our minds, you know. So 1 minute, Jim, he sat there with Richie Sambora drinking his champagne on the private jet. 6 months later, we're out of a record. With a number 1 album in '93. 6 months later, we're out of a record deal. It's gone because fashion changed, like in a way that it doesn't do it anymore. But it was like you couldn't be in a rock band overnight. It was just gone. It was like punk all over again, you know, with Nevermind happening. So Jimmy had to get a job. Went from that. And then to putting crisps on the shelf in Sainsbury's, you know, a bit later. And because you have to pay your bills, don't you? And as he was doing it, Bon Jovi comes on the tannoy because he's doing the early morning crisp shelf loading thing. And he's like, can it get any worse? And then some other guy that he was working with recognised him and asked for his autograph. And he's like, you know, that's how it goes, isn't it, for musicians?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Ups and downs, you know. But it's a great time to be alive, that, you know, that whole marquee scene. And, you know, it's only the benefit of hindsight. You look back and you go, well, we lived through some amazing times. You know, we did the second show that Guns N' Roses did when they came to the UK in the marquee. Who was it did the first show? It'd be like, I can't remember, but we got the second night, and it was like you only look, history's only when you look back.
Yeah.
I just thought they were pretty good and a bit interesting, a bit loud, and just another band, you know. And then 2 years later, you're like, oh, okay, that's serious. Yeah.
Wow. So they weren't. Didn't you think they were a bit special, or did you just think, oh, there's just another band? You didn't see anything.
You couldn't ignore it, and you know, we got bad reviews. You know. Yeah. You know, I remember Dave Ling, he's become a good friend, Dave Ling. Because we were quite antagonistic with him. He was a journalist for Kerrang, and he used to not like Little Angels. He used to always needle us a bit, and I'd react to it like you know, like a, you know. For years, then we're all, of course, now we're all fine and not silly, But I remember Dave Ling, he always brings it up himself, but he gave him a really bad review, and I think big title was "Roses Don't Grow on You," and but that's the sign of something that's important, polarized opinion, because he was punky again.
Yeah.
It's the start of that rough around the edges thing, again, and so it gets you a while to get your head around the fact that it's dangerous. It really is dangerous,
So when you had that #1 album, and then you said 6 months later the record company dropped you.
It was a year or so, maybe, very quickly after.
So how old are you at that point, Bruce?
I'd be 24, maybe, and Jimmy would be 2 years younger than me.
Did you think, okay, I'm still young, I can still join another band, I can do it all again? What was your headspace on that? Because you've gone from there to there.
The issue with music is nothing's ever good enough, is it? So I remember bringing up Cooler Shaker was managed by Kevin Nixon, who used to manage Little Angels, and they'd have got a #2 single with Hush. Yeah, Hush had gone in at #2.
Yeah.
And I rang up, it was like a morgue, because they wanted it to be #1. And I'm like, God, how bad that we're disappointed that it's #2. But yeah, if it's some #1, the next day you're like, well, where do we go from that? So nothing's ever quite right. Do you know what I mean? And I've never had a problem. I don't see my identity wrapped up in the guitar or doing gigs or if people know who I am or not. So I found the transition into normal life a bit easier than some. And we've been involved in the colleges. I've often employed bands, people who've been in bands as teachers, and I've noticed some people really struggle with that kind of, if you believe that narrative, I'm a rock star and I'm important, well, that's going to come back to bite you, because we're all just people, aren't we? And you might create this thing, that's showbiz. You're telling you invented this thing, aren't you?
Yeah.
You're on stage, but you're not really that. And that's the problem with Aerosmith. I think Aerosmith are the only real big stars that I met who really believe that they are that. Right. They're fallen for their own thing. Great as they are, and I love them. I love the records, but as people, they've kind of gone wrong.
Yeah. No, it's funny you should say that, because I never looked at it that way before. But there's people that we know that have had great success in the industry and that are just that, and that they lose their identity. They think, well, that's who I am. But as you said, well, you kind of know that was your job at that point. It's an expression. It's a part of you. But if that's your be all and end all, that's hard to come back from.
Nonsense, and it's very tough for young people, because many young people have this idea: I've got to make it, or my life's make it in inverted commas, or my life's not worth living. And you're like, well, you're looking for this thing that you think of as success, but you've got to be careful what you wish for, because you might get it, and all success is more shit going on in a shorter space of time. So if you're doing a gig to 200 people, it becomes 2,000 people, becomes 20,000, becomes whatever you want. So that's more. It's more activity, it's more people to employ, it's more stuff going wrong, it's more bad reviews, because for everyone that likes you, there's 20 people who don't like you. So there's more of all that. I mean, imagine being Beyonce this morning, you wake up, what's gone on over line? You've probably got to have 4 lawyers just dealing with some nonsense. And so your life becomes different. And if you've got any sort of sense of insecurity or anxiety, it's only going to magnify, because everything's magnified, which is why I think you might get this spate of recent suicides that we had. Artists, and you're like, why would they do it? Well, that's why they do it, because their life's become not worth living, and they're so caught up in the anxiety of it all. And actually, you can have success is living a happy life, being well, being creative. And my experience of doing, biggest gig I did was in the UK would be Cardiff Arms Park. It was with Bryan Adams, and it was bloody brilliant. But it was only the same as a pub gig in that I played well by my standards. I played well on that show, and the communication was great with the lads. So we enjoyed the gig. It's just the same as you would in a pub. And then did Wembley Arena with Ozzy, played badly, so I didn't enjoy it. And there's that my level of personal happiness went from there to there, and in the pub it would have gone from there to there.
Yeah.
That's beautifully put, man. Just because you play in Wembley doesn't mean that's your best gig. Yeah, I totally get that. Yeah.
No, it's just, and you appreciate it, but it's not the be all and the end all. And there's plenty of miserable people with a lot of success and a lot of money, plenty of happy people without any of them things,
Yeah,
I could have definitely done with that advice. That's why I think what you're doing now and being so approachable is amazing. I could have done with that advice probably in my mid-20s, late 20s, because like when we left school, Shane knows more than anyone, I was fixated on making it. And I kept using that term. So it's brilliant how you say that, because I tell younger bands now, it's not about making it. Do you know what I mean?
It's no such thing as it. It's like,
crazy, man. I built it up. I don't know whether it was an old school term that was kind of drummed into me from older musicians, because we did pay attention to a lot of older musicians when we were younger, didn't we, Shane? As in, like, and we always absorbed their knowledge, and I don't know whether I got caught in that term of making it, but you're completely right. I mean, when I turned like 30, I kind of had an epiphany of I've got everything. Yeah. And anything that happens now is a bonus in life, and like the band, we've always had that foundation, haven't we, Shane? When we started it was always the case of this can only get better and work more and more, but we still have this. We still have each other. We've all come back. We're all mates. We've got that history together. We enjoy the music that we're actually doing. We're not doing it just because we're trying to make everybody else happy,
You can lose it. Success can beat it out of you. It did for us with Angels. We didn't bloody speak for 20 years. It's only when one of us died, when Mike Lee died, and we literally hadn't seen each other, hadn't been in the same space, and we met at his funeral. That's really heavy when you've spent all, 8-9 years in a transit van together. Then you don't speak for 20 years, then you meet and someone's coming in a box, and so we just got over the shock of seeing each other, and the bloody hearse turns up,
Yeah.
So you don't forget that stuff, and that's like we just looked at each other and went, "This is ridiculous," and we've been very close, like you guys, ever since.
Yeah.
And there's a great line in the Eagles song, "Take It Easy," where he says, "Don't let the sound of your own wheels drive you crazy." Which is we make a problem out of living. We make a problem out of being in a band, and it's the noise of our wheels that does it. It's like it's you get sort of a bee in your bonnet about something, and you get a repetitive niggle about it, and so and so is annoying you. It doesn't really exist. You've concocted it yourself,
Yeah.
And that's the problem with bands, isn't it? It's a happy band is a good thing if everyone's getting together,
That's always been our thing, man. I say to the boys all the time, the only people that matter is the 5 people in that room. Yeah. And if one of us got a problem, we say it to the other 4, and we don't let other people outside the band dictate what should happen and shouldn't happen. Yeah. It's us first, then it gets added, evolves into something else via someone else. But it's
amazing. And the genius thing is that you'll still be doing this when you're 75, when you're 85, if you want it, and no one can stop you doing it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the great thing about now compared to when we got dropped by Polydor. And we went, we just had number 1 album, we'll get another deal. And no one wanted to touch us because it was all old, on to the next thing. There was no social media, there was nowhere to go with it. You were done. But we had 100,000 fans still then, that just bought the album. So imagine if you had that now, and I always say to people now, if Angels wants to now keep going, or if we want to do a gig in 10 years, we can do it. No one can stop you,
Yeah.
There's no gatekeepers, is there?
I'm glad you brought that up, Bruce, because when Toby Jepson was on, he gave us a little bit of an exclusive, saying it may be a reunion.
Well, we were on about it, but then COVID came along, and it kind of, and I mean, we chat all the time now. It's weird. We literally didn't speak, and it wasn't like we super fell out. It's just like a bit, with each other. And you got to go on and do other things, but we chat all the time now. So I think Toby's got an idea for some shows, and maybe even a kind of live in the studio type record.
Fantastic.
I don't know. I haven't played for a long time. I don't like just picking the guitar up and having a go. I have to sort of invest in it, and I have to make it, that feeling when it sort of is comfortable, it's part of you.
Yes.
Muscle
memory, it all comes back. Yeah.
Yeah, but if you abuse it a bit and you don't play, I mean, I'm around guitars all the time, and chatting about it and watching players and that, and it's in my head kind of thing. But I do sort of think, how long can you get away with? I'm 52 now, and I've got this thing in my hand that my granddad had, called Jupiter's contracture, where your fingers start to do that.
Oh,
never.
But at the moment, it's in my picking hand, and it's not in this hand. But I'm quite young to get it, so I might not be able to do it. I don't know. I haven't played for a couple of years. You can't take these things for granted, can you, in life? So I think if I look for it.
You're right, mate. But there's a lot of the Crow family here and comments saying that it's got to be done.
Yeah, literally, as he's talking about it, do it, please, please, please.
Well, I think I'm sure we will, and it was going to be 21 because it was 30 years since the Young Gods album, which was the second album.
Yes,
which would have made sense, and to go play them tunes and that. But we'll see. I think 22 or 23 would work. There's always some anniversary in there,
Yeah.
Like it'll be 30 years since Jam, or or 40. By the time we get around to do it, probably some 40th anniversary.
Brilliant. Well, Bruce, I can't thank you enough for joining us tonight, mate. It's been an absolute pleasure. Such insight. I'm sure everybody's enjoyed it. I can see all the comments now. Everybody watching has enjoyed it so much. Thank you so much, man, for joining us tonight.
Well, thanks for having me. It's a right laugh. I can't believe the hour's just flown by.
I know, dude.
Yeah.
You really have.
Yeah. Good luck with the band. Touch.
I'm looking forward to when things settle down, Bruce. Me and the boys will pop down and see you if that's all right. It'd be great to come around. I'd love that.
There's an open invitation. We have a venue on the seafront as well. If you want to do a show, we can talk about that.
Brilliant.
Yeah, good stuff.
Thanks so much, Bruce. Take care.
Bye, Bruce. Thank you very much. Oh, man. Absolutely awesome, wasn't it? Absolutely awesome.
A man knows so much about the industry. He could literally change. Well, he is changing it. He is changing it. I love him. I think he's brilliant.
Let's bring the boys in. We can recap. Here's Dave, Shiner, Lloyd.
What's
How
up?
you doing, guys?
Howdy, Mike.
Yeah, good, man. Good.
Yeah, all right.
How good was Bruce, boys?
Yes.
Brilliant, man.
Guru. That's the
Brilliant.
correct word.
Really good.
You know that thing he was saying he got in his hand.
Yeah.
But that's in my fretting hand.
Don't tell me, Ashine.
Yeah, that's as straight as I can get it.
McMaster.
So I was like, oh, there we are. It's not just me, I thought.
So you and Bruce need some therapy. You need to really work on those fingers.
Yeah, I need his guitar as well.
Let me see your hand.
Oh, in that guitar, beautiful, Shane.
Yeah. It was in a mag we seen it, but we were coming back from Hard Rock L and it was in one of their magazines.
Yeah, I remember the magazine, but I'm gonna have to find out who he played with. He played as a guest spot on Ramblin' Man. I'm sure it was Ramblin' Man.
I knew he played as a guest with Hand of Dimes, but apart from that, I mean, my introduction into him was I remember Lloyd turning around and going, "Oh, check this band out! I've been listening to him in the house. It was Colour of Noise."
Yeah.
We were playing a second stage in Hard Rock Hell back many years ago, and I walked in and it was the tone they set. You could just tell. And then yet again afterwards, you know what I'm like. I'd go over and talk to anybody. I'd bloody talk to a wall if I have to. But I basically you know, I knew his history. I'd seen videos of him. So I just went over and just said to him, like, you know, got any advice? And he was just like, just make an impact. That it was something on those lines. Just make a noise. That was his kind of initial thing there. Just make a noise. And then later on, obviously, like we talked to Bruce about, we met him again in Ramblin' Man, and it was incredible. I mean, the compliments he paid us, and the journey to Rambling Man, and then we are where we are at the moment. And I just I was so excited about tonight. Like I said, somebody like Bruce, I follow anyway, because I just respect everything he does, just besides playing the guitar or being in a band. Like, it's that whole, like you just said, creating a space and creating an innovative way of bands to kind of move forward, like, so.
Yeah.
I remember seeing them in Download 2015, maybe, with Colour and Noise. And they had this one song called Drive It Like You Stole It. I remember fucking looking at Sam and going, that's special, man. It was just the way the song was, and the very much AC/DC sort of drum, but it was just ripping, really good song. And from that moment, that's when I was like, God, I need to check these out. Like,
Yeah, man. And I just think it's like a fountain of knowledge, in it, of the more you drink from it, it's like the more we can pass down then. Do you know what I mean? It's like, that's why I love playing with bands who've done loads, or I love playing with bands who haven't done much, because you learn something constantly. You learn either the mistakes you would have made 20 years ago from certain bands, or you learn something that you are making a mistake at the moment and how to push it forward, like, so that's part of the element. He is right, and it is kind of sad in the same point of, it does come hand in hand being in a band. You need to be on the road, because that's part of your learning. That's part of our experience of songwriting, of growing as a band, of growing as a business, of growing, you know what I mean? So, but it's also great to have Bruce on here and speak to him like what we just did then. I mean, Christ, I wish I could have watched that video 20 years ago. That's honestly, if there's any youngster out there watching that, or if you're in a band and you think it's like a 5-minute trick, play that back, listen to what Bruce was saying. Also check out WaterBear. I didn't even get the point of, I wanted to ask him about the cigar boxes, because he was making guitars at one point. Have any of you ever seen that? Or
no, I didn't follow that. No.
Yeah, called cigar boxes, isn't he?
Yeah.
Like Bo Diddley style guitars, isn't he?
Yeah, it was as I said. When you just say something, you're like, have I just said completely the wrong thing now? And there's going to be a meme, it's going to be a meme going around with the fucking, So no.
Madness. But hey, thank you so much, Bruce, for joining us. That was amazing. Loved it. Let's move on then. So we got a new feature coming up soon, guys. We can't wait to talk to you about. All will be revealed. We won't say too much, but stay tuned. There's a new thing the Crows are doing. Oh God,
I love it. That's coming up shortly.
Yeah, but let's do some birthdays then.
Cool.
So we got a couple. Carl and Brian McDermott got in touch. Can you please wish our good friend Dee Brogan a happy birthday? She is 55 on Thursday, the 25th of Jan. She's a massive fan of yours and would make her day. She works behind the scenes at the NHS. She lives in the hometown of Bonfest. That's incredible. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Dee.
Happy birthday, Dee. Stuart Charles, hey Shane, it's my lovely wife Emma Charles' birthday on Sunday, the 17th of Jan. She's a teacher and has had a crazy few months trying her best to help kids learning at home and looking after other key worker children at school. Any chance for a birthday shout out on CrowCast? Happy birthday, Emma!
Happy birthday,
Emma!
Hope you had a great day. Matt Ellis, it's his birthday today. Happy birthday, Matt!
Happy birthday, Matt!
Happy birthday.
Open that bottle, Matt. I seen your bottle for your birthday. Open it, drink it, get it down now. And the last, but no means least, we were talking about inspirational people and teachers and stuff. Phil Jones, as many people have heard us on other episodes of CrowCast. Phil Jones, our music teacher that he is, it's his birthday today. Wishing his family all the love. Happy heavenly birthday, brother.
Happy birthday, Phil.
Say Phil.
And that's all the birthdays.
Can I bip in quickly on the subject of birthdays? Just want to say thank you to everyone for all my messages, and also Chris and Shelley, that bottle of gin I got in the post. Thank you so much. Much appreciate that.
What was that for, Dave? What did I miss?
Well, they sent me a bottle of gin and I opened it today. So Nice. Rhubarb and raspberry gin.
Bloody lovely.
Ooh, I bet that's nice. Oh,
Bloody lovely.
rhubarb and raspberry. Ooh, do you want to get out the guitar, Shane?
It must be that time. Tell me the lyric. Give me the lyric. What's the next lyric? It's lyric time. Tell me the lyric. Give me the lyric. What's the next lyric? It's lyric time. What's the next line? What's the next line? What's the next line?
Everyone tune that fucker.
You're on the gin, haven't you?
Got a bit
If I viewed your harmonies, you want to say nothing. I do need to tune it though. He's not wrong.
Is he
Okay,
wrong?
so this week is a little bit different. I know people are finding it hard to do the lyrics. So I'm going to say a few lines before the lyric that's needed. You'll be sorry. You won't see me cry. No more to be said. What's the next line? You'll be sorry. You won't see me cry. No more to be said. What's the next line? Go.
Ooh. While you're waiting for the answer, it's probably a really good time to talk about next week's show, which we don't normally do that, do we? We don't normally talk about the next show. But no, it's a special week next week. And I'm not going to spoil it all, but all I would like to say is Shane, Shiner and Dave recently recorded an acoustic performance at Swansea Sin City's venue for the BBC in aid of Independent Venue Week. And that will be broadcasted next Tuesday. So if you keep an eye on all the Crow socials, you'll be able to see what the guys got up to. It was recorded a few weeks back. There was a couple of kind of photos that went up on Instagram and a few people going, oh, what's going on here? So that was it. It was Shane, Shiner and Dave, and it's all to do with Independent Venue Week, which I think next week's show, we will be celebrating that, especially in this climate as well. So it's kind of an idea. I hope the Crow family and people are watching are kind of up for it. If you'd like to send, let me 2 seconds put this up because this will be perfect actually. If I put this email up for you right now, feel free to put it up in the comments as well. That is crowcasttakeover@gmail.com. So if anybody would like to send a short video, landscape if you can, which is you turn your phone that way, just of maybe some of your favorite gigs at independent venues. It'd be just cool to kind of, I don't know, throw them a bit of publicity in these bad times, like, you know. So if you want to just do only a short little video, it doesn't have to be long, just maybe a favorite band that you would have seen. Like, for example, Dave, what about a gig that you might have gone to years ago? Nice independent venue.
Fugazi in TJ's, Newport. Amazing.
Wow. Yes, see, that's a perfect. So, you know, if that was Dave sending it in, I mean, you don't have to do this. It's just, you know, if you'd like to be part of next week's show, I think we're going to kind of really, really drum home about this because it's important. Like Dave just said about TJ's. Now, I love TJ's. I mean, I think CrowCast, one of the earlier episodes when we talked to CJ from the Wild Arts, I actually told him how I managed to get a lift with some of my oldest friends to get down to TJ's as a kid, but that venue isn't in anymore, sadly. So I think it's really important we all kind of shout it from the rooftops and support our local venues and people who help bands on the road, like, you know. So yeah, next week's going to be a special homage to venues. And any places you've been, Shiner Boy?
I'm pretty sure it was Dopamine. I'm sure you were with me, but Dopamine, the pub in Newport.
Amazing. Yet again, an incredible venue. It's hard for most venues, especially all across. So it'd be kind of cool to hear off everybody watching this, and maybe people who didn't get the chance to watch tonight's episode. If you want to kind of send a short video into crowcasttakeover@gmail.com, we can hear about your stories at venues that, you know, whether it was local or whether you've traveled to them. But you know, what about you, Lloyd? Anything that sticks out to anybody?
I've seen, well, you mentioned TJ's. I've seen Broadway calls in TJ's, a punk rock band 3-piece signed to Adeline Records. I was in TJ's, and it was just because they were a proper 3-piece punk rock band, it kind of made it more special as well, you know. Yeah. Or, you know, all the way from Portland, Oregon, in the States. It's just great memories, man. I think it was the day after I passed my driving test as well. So it was that thing of just having the freedom to get in your car and getting, you know, go out and support these venues. It was great. It meant the world to me at the time.
So many touring bands from America went through TJ's, didn't they?
Yeah.
Man, I mean, we could do a whole show on TJ's, because it's like, you know, you used to see the buses parked outside the venue, and they'd all have the flat upstairs. Myself and China managed to have that flat when we were on tour before. It was incredible. And John used to, he used to take you across to his restaurant and cook you a meal. But it was the old concave ceiling as well. Is that the right word for a concave? It was like a
cave.
Yeah. And I just remember, like, you know, it was just such a great atmosphere, and you know, everybody has their rock memories or their we heard growing up around here, places like the York in Bridgend, which we never seen, but they had their own history there as well, and a lot of bands went through there. And for us, TJ's was that, weren't it? It was like you know, and you had to go in a car over an hour. It felt like you were going abroad.
Yeah. Interesting fact about TJ's, actually. Well, this is probably isn't something that not everyone knows, is that Kurt Cobain proposed to Courtney Love in TJ's.
I was on the bridge, but Newport Bridge.
There we are, then, on the bridge. But it was during a show.
I was there, but I was there.
Oh, you were there, before you were born, wasn't it?
Aye.
And I mean, not leaving out the fact of, you know, like I said at the top of this, you know, Shane, and Dave, you went off to Sin City in Swansea, which is a venue that we've played in the Crows, especially the early days as well.
Seen loads of bands there, man, over the years. Seen loads.
I think that was our first gig with, like, when we met the Massive Wagons guys. Is that right?
Yeah, that was, Sin City on a Saturday night, yeah. Yeah,
so fair play to Mark for putting us on down there. But yeah, got us friends with the Wagons, and then obviously we went on to Nottingham, and then that's how we got the record deal, and now, you know, we're great mates with the Wagons and stuff. So it's all these venues that mean something to everyone, like, you know, whether it was your go-to in the midweek to catch a band, or whether it's your place on a Saturday night to get down and boogie, like, do you know what I mean? So whatever you use these venues for, it was the place to go and make your friends and do your shots, like, you know. So yeah,
man. I mean, years ago when Hobos first opened in our hometown, I mean, it was a place you could go out. You go out on your own and you'd meet someone, and then you become great friends with them because you shared the same interests. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, those days are special, man.
See, there's a lot of places now coming up in the chat. The Patriot, you're right, Debs, and we'll definitely mention that next week. We've already talked about that, so that's a place so I don't want to kind of go into it too much. Bogies in Cardiff, completely bang on. I think we've told a few stories about that, especially which is relevant. We supported Phil Jones back in the day, and I kind of thought I was playing in like Dust Till Dawn, especially old Bogies anyway, like, you know. A couple of people have put there's some great venues. I mean, Face Bar in Reading. This is brilliant. So, I mean, if you want to, like I said, if you want to be part of next week's show again, we do like to interact. We do like to hear what you've got to say. Send a short little clip video in, and we'll maybe play it on next week's show.
Absolutely fantastic. Great stories here, boys. I was listening, but just doing the competition.
Yes.
Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Can't wait for next week. We've got a winner for What's the Next Line. So, the lyric was, "You'll be sorry. You won't see me cry." No more to be said. This is obviously from Send the Reaper, and the line was, "Just swallows me whole. Just swallows me whole." And the first person to say it was Emma Ashcroft. Congratulations, Emma.
Emma. Oh, God, Emma.
Great work.
Pick whatever you want from the merch store.
Oof.
And let us know what size. Send us your address, and we'll get that out to you.
Let's see what's on this week's Crow Radio. We need a jingle for this, boys. Actually, as
Radio.
Radio.
Oh, fucking hell.
WKGB Aurora.
that is going on the notes. We need a jingle for
Radio.
CROW Aurora.
After the big Dave scream, yeah!
Hey, I'm Harrison Bam.
Davo. So, what is this week's Crow Radio? What's the theme and what is on there?
Go.
Okay, the theme this week is education because of Bruce's background with the colleges and whatnot. So we've chosen education. So we have School's Out, Alice Cooper, Another Brick in the Wall, Pink Floyd, Hot for Teacher, Van Halen, Learn to Fly, Foo Fighters, Master of Puppets, Metallica, School, Nirvana, The Educated Fool, Iron Maiden, Back to School, Deftones, Figure It Out, Royal Blood, The Kids Aren't Alright, Offspring, Art School Girl, Stone Temple Pilots, School Days, Chuck Berry, Smoking in the Boys' Room, Motley Crue, Teach Your Children, Crosby, Stills and Nash, The Kids Are All Wrong, Lagwagon, Mr. Brightside, Killers, Teachers, Daft Punk, Teacher's Pet, Extreme, Re-Education, Rise Against, Stupid Kid, Alkaline Trio, Wonderful World, Sam Cooke, bit of soul in there for you. Yes, mixing it up, it's got to be done. Don't Stand So Close to Me, The Police, High School Never Ends, Bowling for Soup, and I Don't Like Mondays by the Boomtown Rats. Bring.
Another great playlist.
Like,
Great playlist.
share, subscribe, listen.
You done well, Dave. You actually read the artist and the song name of this week.
Yeah, you do.
No,
And that
no
was
cutting corners this week.
that was quite critical actually, because I listened to last week's, which was the Guitar Heroes playlist when I went out for a walk the other day. And I didn't know some of the selections because you just named the artist. I didn't know what songs.
See, it keeps the surprise alive, doesn't it?
It wasn't.
Making excuses for his shoddy workmanship.
Yeah, exactly.
Only Dave could go, "You're welcome for doing it wrong. You're welcome."
You're welcome.
I'm infallible.
So yeah, it's been a great week with the Old Crow Fitness. You know, for everybody who's joined the other group, loads of positivity. It doesn't matter how far you've gone, whether you've walked 2 steps or 1,000 steps. It's unbelievable how much interest is in that at the moment. And while we're on Crow Fitness, what a great segue into our next feature. It's a brand new feature, boys.
This is it, everybody.
Oh,
Strap in. This is the new
I'm
feature.
off. Ta-ra.
This is the new feature. Without further ado,
In 2021, a Crow Commando unit was sent to prison by a military court for a crime they didn't commit. These men promptly escaped from a maximum security stockade to the Bridge End Underground. Today, still wanted by the government, they survived as soldiers of fortune. If you have a problem, if no one else can help, and if you can find them, maybe you can hire the C-Team.
okay, tell us what it's all about, Shane. Tell us
Right
what
then.
it's all about.
Our very own.
Oh, he's gone mute.
You've gone on mute.
He's gone mute, Shane.
You've gone on mute. A little bit of technical difficulties. There
Sorry
he is.
about that, boys.
There you are.
It was a great start. Our very own Annie Joyce, has been absolutely influential, incredible, sorting out the new Crow Fitness fan page. So she's basically set us some challenges, and we decided to call it Crow Boot Camp. So every week, Annie is setting us up. So we've got our own very own crow wheel with our names on it, and then another wheel with all these things that she wants us to do fitness-wise. And it's literally on the night. It's picking the wheel and seeing who gets what. Are you ready for this, boys?
I'm trying to keep up with all the comments. There's so many comments. It's almost like we brushed over the video. Everyone's just like, what the fuck did I just see?
Is Dave ready for this? Because I know he done bowed well with suspense.
Oh, I'm ready. I'm ready.
Go on. And the thing is, right, a lot of people there think there's a lot of work gone into that. No, 10 minutes, I was. That idea came in 10 minutes, boom, and we were all doing it tonight.
It happened. So, this is the the boot camp wheel.
Yes.
So on there are 5 activities that we'll have to do, yeah?
That's right. We'll start with the DU skipping, that's double under skipping. On the headstand, which is a headstand. The crow pose, which is basically Annie's, I don't know whether she made it up or what, but yeah, it's this balance thing that she does. And then Namaste, is that how you say Namaste yoga?
Yeah, namaste, yeah.
So yeah, so I'm gonna click it. I'm a CrowFit hero, by the way. Nobody wants to get CrowFit hero, okay? I'm dreading that. If that lands on me, I'm not gonna be happy. But here we go. We're gonna click it
just to make sure I'm right. Hang on. Just to make sure I'm right here, Shane. So once you've hit this now, this will be the activity selected.
Yes.
And then you're going to select one crow to do it, and they have to kind of do a video for next week's show then, yeah?
That's right. Soon as we get which one activity it is, you're going to play a clip from Annie describing what is the activity, and then we're going to do a crow wheel to say who's doing it.
Perfect. Oh, God. Here we go then. Here we go.
Are you ready?
Fuck.
Exactly, Lloyd. Here we go. Hey!
Hey!
Muzzle top.
Hey!
Oh, straight in and no way!
Oh!
Namaste.
Dart.
Oh, okay.
There we go.
Okay. So let me just cue this up. And here is Namaste. Here is Annie now describing what we have to do.
So crows, this challenge is that you're going to do an online yoga class with me and my amazing teacher, Alex Howarth. It's going to be tough. It's going to be fun. You're going to do some moves you've never done before. I'll see you there. Namaste.
Oh, dear God.
Come on, China.
Yeah!
Oh, dear God. Right, so whoever guesses it,
God.
China boy, send up shorts thoughts, China.
whoever guessed this has to obviously record themselves doing it.
So this is you have to do an hour yoga session with Annie and the yoga instructor online, yeah?
Online. Here we go.
Here we go. Oh.
Oh, it's not me. Oh, damn it. Yes. No. Yes.
Oh.
Where's it our yoga then? Open them.
Go get him.
Go get him.
There we go. First week on Crow Boot Camp is David.
Fucking typical, isn't it?
Don't forget the video that now, brother. So we got some good footage for next week's CrowCast.
Don't you worry about it.
sure you're well dressed as well, Dave. Like, you know, I know with yoga you got to wear the spandex.
Well, I got loads of revealing
Spandex?
gear, but I don't think I'd wear them anymore. I used to have the body for it, not anymore. Like, I'll be wearing a duvet suit.
The rest of the crows live for another week.
Bastards. Hope you get something really horrible.
No, Dave, we might just all disappear by next.
Anybody working out what the hell just happened? David got selected to do an hour online yoga session with Annie and her instructor this week, which will be videoed and put on next week's CrowCast. And do you know what that means as well now, Dave?
It means that I'm going to do an hour of yoga.
Yeah, and also you're off the board.
Yes,
so
it means I'm out for next week.
So that's you. That's you out of it. That leaves 4 more tasks and 4 more crows. So that was it.
But catch you next week for another edition of...
In 2021, a Crow Commando unit was sent to prison by a military court for a crime they didn't commit. These men promptly escaped from a maximum security stockade to the Bridge End Underground. Today, still wanted by the government, they survived as soldiers of fortune. If you have a problem, if no one else can help, and if you can find them, maybe you can hire the C-Team.
This I cannot wait to bloody see, Dave.
That'll be next week. Next week.
I might get a stunt double in.
There we go. I've got to get another wheel now, haven't I?
I was thinking when we did the old running order, innit? We were like, bloody hell, it's like a triple wheel off, innit? You have to remember that next week.
Yeah.
Those damn wheels.
I got it. There we go. So one of the wonderful members of Crow family has paid it forward. And it's one of these. So can I suggest only be oh no, I can't. I'm talking rubbish. Never mind. It's one of them. It's the last of its kind.
Oh,
let's have a look, Shane. Let's have a quick look. There we go.
Pick the right weather for it, but with all
last ever one of them. Let it crow.
One. You ready? Here we go.
This is totally free. It is give it away, and
I get this as well.
The person who've won is
Vela Marie Golden.
Congratulations, Vela.
Congrats.
Well done, Vela.
Hat on its way to you.
Nice.
Nice.
Yes, it is. And that is the last bobble hat. And for anybody who didn't catch the top of the show, we have got a January sale on right now. So if you go over to thosedamncrows.bigcartel.com, calendars have been added. Is that right, Shane?
Yes. 25 new calendars, limited. So yeah, go get
25.
them.
Well, that'll be it then, won't it? That's it, literally, for the calendars. This is your last chance on the calendars. So yeah, go and check out what's on sale over at thosedamncrows.bigcartel.com. And now it's time for this.
It's Dave, did you know? Fucking hell. Simple. Scooby-Doo. I thought you were getting rid of that jingle. Fucking hell.
It gets me every time.
Only female onions will make you cry. Namaste.
Wow. Wow.
What do you say?
Only female onions will make you cry. Wow.
Yeah. Females are good at that, man.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing, but
Making a man cry.
Making the man cry.
making the man cry.
Making a man cry.
Yeah, if female. Have you ever noticed though? You cut some onions and it doesn't make you cry, and some do. I do. Well, I've noticed. I'm always cutting fucking onions. It seems to be off my life.
Steve Arnold, tell it like it is. Go on, Steve.
Cutting corners, you used to, not cutting onions.
Roberts, what?
Yeah, man.
Martin, David Graham that's bollocks.
Pair of onion does look like bollocks, mind.
I love that. That's a load of shallots, that is.
Hey, Dave, can I take your onion fact and show you another one?
Ooh.
You can raise me. You can raise me. You.
I'm going to try.
Go on, then.
I see your week's washing up.
A snail can sleep for 3 years.
Boring.
Lucky
good,
bastard.
That's not boring. That's incredible. What do you want? 3 years.
I don't think they lived long.
How long does a snail live for then?
Don't ask me any more questions. I do not know. I'm not a snail expert, but they sleep for 3 years. They can.
Does anyone want to read that?
The onion thing. Try cutting with a sharp knife and you should be fine. If you use a blunt knife, it squashes the skin instead of cutting it. So obviously it releases the... So get a nice sharp onion.
And he...
I'll just pick a male one and you can just hammer it to bits and it'll be all right.
Is this like the pepper thing? Well, it has blown my mind a bit. I'm not going to lie.
Do you know how to tell the difference?
No.
On the male ones, you rub them at the bottom and a little bit comes out like that. No, I'm joking. I'm joking. There's no way to tell. The only way to tell is I think the male ones give off pollen. That's the only way to tell.
So are you in the kitchen touching up onions? Is that what you're doing?
Yeah. Give me a little rub. And it goes, oh!
Oh, outstanding.
We've up the gin again, Dave.
Incredible.
Birthday gin.
That's blown me away, I got to be honest. Well done, Dave. That's a really, really good fact this week. That's a great fact.
What, the fact about the onions or the fact I wank off onions?
I also like the fact Shane saying about the snail sleeping for 3 years, which I thought was incredible.
That's crap fact. I was Shane.
Sorry, Dave.
Sorry, bet.
It's not your standards. I do apologize.
No.
But probably a good time to mention we have this going out not just now live every Tuesday. We've got the audio podcast, which is available right now on Spotify and Apple Music. So we're currently working through it. It has been 44 weeks. So we're currently working through the episodes and they're being uploaded as we speak. And I think there is roughly about 8 or 9 on there at the moment, available right now on Spotify, available right now on Apple Music, which is an edited version. So if you like some of the guests who've come on, it's just the interview section of the show. So you can listen back again in your car, or if for anybody who can't, they don't sit there and they don't like watching the show or whatever, and they like to travel in their car and listen. It's a perfect alternative because I listen to podcasts all the time. I absolutely love a podcast.
Yeah, me too.
I think you guys do as well, don't you? You're fans of podcasts. You are as well, and you, Dave.
Yeah.
That's available right now. I need to sort of graphic out for that. This list is getting long, isn't it? It's not the list of Jericho anymore. It's the list of Oxford. Jesus Christ. So for anybody wanting that, there is actually a graphic, and I haven't uploaded it, so that's my fault. There we go. And my fault. My fault. Go and check us out on Apple Music and Spotify and Acast. For anybody who listens to that I'm sorry, 2 seconds. And Crow Radio as well. As Dave said earlier, this week's Crow Radio theme was, Dave?
Education, school, teacher, whatnot.
Love it. And also, our January sale is still on at the moment, so you can head over to the shop and get something there. Also, don't forget to subscribe, hit the notifications, and like and share us on Facebook. Let everybody know about CrowCast. Like I said, even if they can't watch it live on a Tuesday and they want to listen to the Audible version, they can head over right now to Apple, Spotify, or Acast and other platforms. That was the word I was trying to think of, was platforms. Mad, isn't it? Simple word, you can't remember it.
Quite big in its empties platforms.
They were. So, without further ado,
ladies and gentlemen, one-liner, shiner.
So this week, boys, I borrowed one off my friend the Joker.
ooh,
It's great. I love this.
Yeah, right, here we go. You have 2 ears and 1 mouth. Follow that ratio. Listen more, talk less. Well done, Mr. Joker.
Complete opposite to me, Harris.
Yeah. Not wrong. Crow family, thank you so much. Have a safe week. Have a great week. We will catch you next week on CrowCast, Tuesday, 9 o'clock. See you guys. Love you lots.